What up, everyone? DJ Noob is here with you on the Metal Tavern Radio podcast. Today, I got a little bit of a special segment episode for you. Basically, there's a thing that's been going on. I've been following this for about a week or so, kind of see how it unfolds, see where it goes, get more information because there's more people that are involved with this than I am at all that were banned or whatever from Twitter. And it's in regards to activist named Eliza Bleu. And I didn't know who she was prior to all this going down, but I found the case very interesting because it all started with a simple question. And from there, it just kind of like steamrolled to a point that it became a really big deal. And I got some clips and images I'm going to show you from other YouTube personalities that have been dealing with this and talking with this a lot more than me. So I'm sharing their clips a little bit. Hopefully they don't mind because I'm just kind of doing it to support them in their fight against censorship, obviously. I'm not a big enough channel to where I don't think they're going to really catch me or care like they might, but who knows? But I'll have some stuff from Andrew from Legal Mindset, very good channel. The Quartering, Jeremy there, Yellow Flash, Katie Herzog, who was interviewed Eliza at one point, and that's a pretty big deal there with like how that went down with that. Lauren Chen, she has a lot of great things to say about this, and there's some other people involved as well that just in terms of like the Dad Umbrella guy, and the Star Wars girl. There's a lot of people that have been like, involved. Chrissy Mayer. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on with this topic and what's been going on between Twitter. So let me just break this down real quickly if I can for you. So who is Eliza Bleu? Obviously, I told you she's an activist, but she was born Elizabeth Morthland. And apparently she's the daughter of a Republican politician. Now, I don't know. Some people are making it about politics in terms of like why she's doing what she's doing, or that she's conservative as well because she's friends with Elon Musk as well as another YouTube guy, podcaster, Tim Pool, who's also Republican. So it's kind of weird, like the politics of all this. But apparently, well, before we get into that, let me show you a clip from Lauren here, who kind of helps break down who Eliza is, because over the years, Eliza's had like 8 or 9 different aliases that she's gone with. She's like 41 years old, but there's some issues where the age has been like either she lied about the age at some point or whatever. We'll get into that too as well. But here's first where Lauren just kind of just discusses who Eliza Bleu is.
Talk about Eliza Bleu. If you're not yet familiar with Eliza Bleu, trust me, you will be soon. She's essentially a commentator, activist, advocate, influencer who claims, that's the thing, who claims to be a survivor of human trafficking, who is now using her platform to raise awareness, which at least on its face is a pretty cool thing. I mean, obviously human trafficking is a terrible, awful thing, but if someone who has been through that is able to take that experience and use it to educate other people and hopefully put a stop to it happening as much in the future, then I think it's safe to say that is good, positive, and meaningful work.
So I agree. I think a lot of people who are talking about this aren't really having a problem with Eliza and the purpose of her activism. Like, trying to stop child trafficking is a big deal. Like it is. It exists, and it's a good thing, and people are trying to stop it. But what's happening is, because Eliza has some different things that she tried in the past as far as like a career, she's kind of like trying to scrub it away and like make it non-existent. But when the clip first came out, so before I get to Brittany Venti's initial question to Eliza, the issue was there was this screenshot of Eliza in a hip hop video. She's scantily clad. Nothing real nudity or anything. It's your typical hip hop, shake your booty around type thing. And Eliza just kind of like went off the rails there. She started having people banned for having that picture, which it wasn't even the video, it was just a picture. Keep in mind, this video had been up for the last 6 or 7 years, provided by WorldStar, the group that she contacted to have this video made. I think she had some other ones made as well. She was trying to be a part of this hip hop culture, being in videos and stuff. So, so she immediately started saying that the video is non-consensual. Like, and of course, WorldStar challenges that. And WorldStar took the video down recently from YouTube, but I don't know. There's rumors that WorldStar is doing that because they want to make sure that everything, they have all their shit in order. Also, they may end up coming after legally, which I'll get to a little bit later, because Eliza might be facing legal action going forward, because there's some other stuff that's happening with this case as well. But anyway, WorldStar had come out and said, she did this consensually. We paid her to do this. So it wasn't like she was forced into it or anything like that. And the other thing is like, the way that Eliza had said non-consensually about the video makes it sound like that she's trying to accuse them of being trafficking. Like she confuses at times what trafficking really is. And I'll show you some clips later that deal with that as well. But here's another clip of Lauren Chen actually discussing the video itself.
With Elon, that there's at least rumors going around that he gifted her a Tesla. And yes, those of you who are familiar with the story, you'll already know that. Keep that Elon Musk connection in mind, because it's gonna come up later. So that's Eliza Bleu in a nutshell. And I guess the way that I was introduced to this entire rabbit hole we're gonna be going through together is that one day I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw Eliza post a very strange tweet. She wrote, "I'm going to address this one time and one time only. A non-consensual photo was posted of me yesterday on Twitter. The photos have been removed. The source of the photo has also been contacted, and I'm preparing to escalate to the full extent of the law."
So that's basically Eliza kind of freaking out over this particular screenshot that was taken from a video that she had made and been paid for. So she's wrong in a sense that it's non-consensual, at least on the surface. Like, I can't say for 100% certainty that WorldStar didn't just say, we want you to act in this video. If you watch the video, if you've seen clips of it, you know that she doesn't look like she's under any kind of duress or being forced to do anything. She looks like she's quite enjoying it. And there's actually other evidence out there showing how excited she was to do this stuff, even talking to her mom. And but let me show you the tweet that actually kickstarted a lot of this off. So I don't know why Brittany had come across this, or if she was just digging into it or what, but it somehow got brought to her attention, this video, I guess. I don't know what happened, how, why. But Brittany's question really wasn't out of line. It wasn't, in fact, let me just show you. So she basically says, hey, it's a sensitive topic. You don't have to go into detail about being trafficked, but I'm hoping you could clarify this thread. There's claims and videos in this thread that conflict with the timelines you gave. It could distract from your anti-trafficking messaging. And yeah, so the thing is, like, Brittany was really trying to get clarity on some stuff because, Eliza said that she was trafficked from this age to this age and from these years. But then we see that she's doing like videos and stuff during those years. She's on social media. She has a presence on there. And I think at some point, Eliza tries to say that some of that was part of the trafficking. But again, for anyone who's ever been trafficked, I don't see how you would think that that's trafficking. Like, one of the things that people get upset about is how Eliza's trying to dump. Maybe if someone has like, in my opinion, if someone takes your pictures and stuff and your ID and tries to make money off of it or profit off of it, that's just identity fraud. That's not trafficking. That's identity fraud. And if she can prove that, then great. But that's not trafficking. So, but there's times that Eliza tries to use that as a way of saying she's been trafficked, and people get upset about that. All right, so here is another clip with Lauren going even further into detail.
Did watch the music video that people were sharing the link of and posting screenshots of onto Twitter, and it's kind of strange that she would react so viscerally to this music video if there weren't more to the story, because to be clear, there's nothing explicit about this music video. It was posted to YouTube for years and it was not age restricted. Don't get me wrong. It is risque. You see Eliza's butt cheeks, and it's definitely very provocative, but it's by no means X-rated or actual pornography. I mean, essentially, she was just playing the role of like one of those music video girls who's wearing really skimpy outfits and dancing around. And so the fact that she reacted so viscerally to this link being shared, for me at least, it did kind of raise red flags. And I think
yeah, so that's the thing. Like the way that Eliza's been acting, she has this reluctance to talk about anything regarding her past, and some people believe that for someone who's an activist and you're out there pushing for anti-child trafficking, that you'd want to share your story. And I don't think to this date, I don't think she has shared her story of how she's been trafficked. Like she claims she's talked to her close friends about it, but has never actually come out and actually discussed it with anybody. Like, or, she's never been at a gig promoting, where they're trying to get charity money for anti-trafficking. So like, she doesn't share the story. So people are kind of wondering, well, what's going on here? And whenever people now recently come to try to talk to her about it and bring it up and say, hey, what's going on here? She's quick to shut them down. She doesn't say, I don't want to talk about it. She just blocks them. And she clearly has connections with Twitter and Elon Musk and everything else. So that's another thing that's troubling for people, is that she's using this new sense of power within Twitter to silence people for simply just asking questions. Let's see. Yeah, so here's another clip from Lauren again before I get to the Kate Herzog interview.
Eliza's work for a while, you'll know that she's always been really vague about the details of her trafficking.
I was trafficked on Twitter as well. So there's been 3 profiles to my knowledge that my former abusers made to traffic me on Twitter.
What does that mean that they trafficked you on Twitter? How can someone traffic you if they're not in contact with you?
The way that my former abusers were doing it is that it was going back to my Instagram. The Twitter accounts were linking back to my Instagram, and they were trafficking me off Instagram, Backpage, sugar daddy websites. I mean, whatever type of internet trafficking is what was happening. I'll go into more detail. So it looks like a profile. In my particular case, the profiles look like profiles that would be me, but trying to entice business to sell me, bringing it back to my Instagram where they were doing business. Fortunately, in my particular case, there are no nude images or videos of me on Twitter, but it would go back to my Instagram, and that's how they would traffic me, sell me without my full consent and without my knowledge.
What she's describing there may be frustrating, but it's also not human trafficking. And
yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like, it's identity fraud, but that's not trafficking. And that's what kind of like irks even survivors of trafficking who have been challenging Eliza on this, because to be trafficked, there are women who are literally being trafficked, and it's not just through the internet. Like, what she's describing is just identity fraud. Someone's just taking her image, profiting off of it, and that's fraud. I don't want to say I know for sure that Eliza's never been trafficked. Like, that's the thing that makes this whole case weird. And now it's getting worse because she's hiding more about it. Like, it's almost like, to me, if you're really legit about what you're saying happened, the one thing you do is you don't hide. You don't try to silence people. You set the record straight. I don't care if you go on national TV on 60 Minutes and do your story, but you have to set it straight. You have to answer the questions that people have. even if they're tough to answer. That's the thing. It's not about trying to hurt you or trying to like make you go through trauma. It's trying to get the record straight because shit don't add up. And that's really just the brunt of what we're talking about here. So another woman I'm not too familiar with, named Katie Herzog, she had done or attempted to do an interview with Eliza here, and it went south very quickly. I don't think they really got far into the interview, but Katie obviously wanted to talk about Eliza's presence on Twitter, because that's pretty much where Eliza blew up with this particular activism. Like when she moved over from a different alias to Eliza Bleu, she set out to be an activist for anti-child trafficking. So Twitter was the way she was going to do it. And so when she was going on Katie's show or podcast or making a call, she was trying to discuss her work on Twitter, but Katie wanted to talk about that plus about her own experiences in trafficking. And that's what kind of set this interview in the wrong direction, because Eliza got very defensive, didn't want to talk about it, and then it became a really big thing. So here's that clip for that.
My story at length is going to take a while.
So I know the basics of your story because I've listened to your podcast.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what the question is.
Well, I can ask you the questions.
I didn't agree to this. All I agreed to was answering a few questions about Twitter.
Well, okay, sure. That's totally fine. But can I ask you the questions or email you the questions, and you can decide if you want to answer or not?
I mean, did you ask Amanda in advance to do that? Okay, so you deceived Amanda, didn't tell her everything you wanted to ask me, and then you got a survivor on the phone and started asking her about her personal trauma.
No, that's not what happened. I said.
Katie, I think we're probably going to be done here. Please, just next time you want to speak to a survivor about their trauma and bring up their own past.
I literally asked her. I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you. I'll read you the message that I sent her.
Please be honest in advance, because
I won't.
Because there are times when I feel cool about talking about it, and there's other times when I don't.
So yeah, you can see it became very overly dramatic. Katie's trying to explain her stance and what she was trying to do. Now, Katie took a lot of heat for this on Twitter. I went through her thread, and a lot of people were putting her on blast. But I think this happened before the rest of this stuff came out in terms of the clips and everything else. This was actually Katie just asking to see if she wants to talk about what happened to her, and Eliza flew off the rails. Now, it's possible Eliza's it's so traumatic that Eliza doesn't want to talk about it, but it's the way you have that plus everything else that's going on, and all of a sudden it looks like maybe she just didn't happen. That's part of the problem. And so I kind of went into Katie's tweets, and I was like, well, it looks like you were right, Katie, because people putting you on full blast look kind of like the fools now, because now there are serious questions about Eliza's past that are coming up. Now, that video, the clips of the dancing and everything, those weren't initially in the interview that I heard on the Twitter, because it was just the audio. So whoever made up that video threw those in there, but that apparently those are things that happened during this timeline that she was trafficked. I don't know. Yeah. So initially what it all comes back to now is that Venti, once she posted that question through her tweet, got banned. And then what happened was other YouTube personalities such as The Quartering, Yellow Flash, and Manuel DeFango started talking about the same thing. Like they were because they knew Brittany. They've had shows with her, talked to her. And so they felt that banning was unjustified because it was a simple question. It was nothing else. Simple question. They ended up getting banned too. Now they did share an image as well, but again, there's no nudity in the image. And the image comes from one of the videos, the video I talked about for the last 6 years that has been on YouTube. So it wasn't like they just hacked into her computer and took something that without her permission. It was already out there. and all it was a screenshot. But this ended up getting those guys banned as well, and this is where it became a big deal, because now Twitter was censoring, trying to justify it as protecting people, when that's really not what's happening here. This isn't harassment. This is simply asking questions. There's a difference in that. Totally big difference. These people were not trolling her. Brittany was more than cordial about it. And so now it's just become like this big, big ordeal. And here's another clip from Lauren discussing this even further.
By someone by the name of Manuel DeFango explains, and by the way, this is a very long thread. We're not going to go through all of it. If you want more information, I recommend you reading it yourself. But DeFango explains that Eliza Bleu was actually on a TV show called Blind Date, which ran from 1999 to 2006. And on that TV show from 2006, Eliza claimed to be age 21 and talked about sex. Yet, as people who are familiar with her story of being sex trafficked know, now she claims that a year later in 2007, she was 17 and being trafficked.
So, as you see, since the bannings took place, people started digging further and further into Eliza's past, which was probably what Eliza didn't want. Like, there's been talk that had Eliza just come out and said something like, hey, I did those videos when I was a little bit younger, not really that proud of them, so I moved on from that, and I'm trying to do something much better in my life or whatever. But instead of doing that, Eliza's basically opened up this world now where people are going to question everything she does. And like, even more recently, within the last couple of days, Elon Musk has unfollowed her. And so I don't know if that's just Elon trying to publicly show that he doesn't, like, maybe back scenes they're still friends or whatever, but there's a lot going on now. Twitter safety, which we'll get into a little bit later. This woman, Ella Irwin, who runs the Twitter safety program, is very close to Eliza. We found that out pretty fast. And so there's a lot of like backpedaling by Twitter here to try to like save face, to show that they're not being biased, but it's not working. No one's buying it. And yeah, so again, here's another clip from Lauren on this stuff as well.
12, Eliza taped a phone call to her mom about being a video vixen on her personal YouTube.
Well, yeah, I was just calling you because I wanted to get your feedback and see what you thought about me being in music videos. Do you think I look too sexy?
I don't think it's possible to look too sexy.
You don't think it's possible to look too sexy? Well, I appreciate your opinion. I thought for some reason that you'd say that you didn't want me to be in music videos.
And now I want to cover my tracks here and say that none of this is absolute 100% proof that she is lying about having been trafficked. It is still possible that that was the case, but I think it's safe to say that this all is just very suspicious, and there are a lot of things that don't necessarily add up. And
that's what it comes down to. Like, we see these other clips and these other things that Eliza has out there where she looks more than happy with what's going on. There isn't any like duress, or she doesn't look like anyone's pointing a gun at her head. Clearly, for anyone who's ever been trafficked, and I can't speak on how that works. I can just only tell you that things that I've read about trafficked girls, that's nothing like it. Not even close to what trafficking is. Yeah, it's a nightmare for women who have been trafficked, and that looks like someone who's clearly enjoying and having a great time with what she's doing. Not that that's a problem. No one cares about the videos. No one really cares that. I mean, we enjoy the fact that, again, Eliza wants to be an activist for anti-trafficking. It's a great cause. But you have things to answer for that people have questions about. Like, when you put yourself in this box of I've been trafficked, I'm a survivor, people want to know that story, because it doesn't add up to what's going on in your past, in your timeline. Along with that, now this stuff here that I'm going to get into is This could simply be rumor, but only because it's coming off of Reddit, and sometimes Reddit can be good or bad depending on what the topic is. Now, there is proof that Eliza was a big My Chemical Romance fangirl, and apparently she dated one of the members for a little while. But here's something that was posted in that same thread from people who either knew her then or knew about the story. And I found it intriguing because when I think about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, we talk about patterns, and Amber Heard has patterns in her life that led up to the trial. And so when I see what Eliza is doing now, this kind of reminds me of a pattern that she has. So here it is.
I think it goes back to.
Whoops, wrong one. Sorry. Let me get back over here. Here we go. All right. So he says, and she was busted years ago after Jared left for spreading falsehoods about all the things of the band members. And so apparently Eliza, while involved with the group, MCR, was just spreading lies about them and stuff like that. So she has this pattern of being deceitful. And that's not a very good thing, because that just shows a pattern of deception. And you shouldn't be doing that. And if now you're someone who's the head or this face of anti-trafficking, and you've got this baggage, not only from your own personal life, but just what happened even way back when. It's just so many questions that need to be answered here. And really, if she would just sit down, I think if she just owned it, people would probably be more forgiving about it. But when you keep trying to build lie after lie after lie after lie, it could be a problem for you. So after the bannings, obviously there were other YouTube people, because for a while the recording wasn't allowed on Twitter, so he was still on his YouTube trying to take his shots at Twitter, explaining that he shouldn't have been banned, and same. It just kept rolling, because when one person got banned, another person got banned, and then another person got banned. Now slowly, they've all been allowed back on the platform, but a lot of the requirements were you have to delete that tweet. But a lot of people said, don't do it. Don't delete the tweet, because that will make them think that you were in the wrong. So according to Jeremy of the Quartering, he said when he got back on, they had deleted the tweet themselves. He didn't do it himself, but they did it. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I didn't know if they can delete your own tweets. I don't know. But other YouTubers such as Chrissy Mayer, Ann from the Star Wars Girl, Simcast, that Umbrella Guy, they all rallied behind these people to share the story. They've still been on Twitter. That Umbrella Guy is also one that was involved with the Johnny Depp thing with Amber Heard. So he was kind of brought to the forefront through that. But he's one of those guys that will stand up for truth and wants it exposed. So he's a good guy to rally behind, as well as have someone rally behind you. So, now we have all these people that are coming forward. And so they all put their YouTubes and their Twitter accounts at risk, because you don't know when you're going to get banned. And I think a lot of them had gotten banned on Twitter. YouTube that hasn't done any of that. I know one person has been asked by YouTube to take down a video, which that Umbrella Guy recently said, you don't do it. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's kind of now Twitter's abuse of power is kind of filtering down into YouTube and everything else. So you have to be careful with that. But here's the biggest thing about this whole thing with the bannings. Okay. A while back, and I'm only talking maybe a few months to a year, Eliza had said twice on her Twitter that she was a big proponent of free speech. So this first one, And I wish I could blow it up here, but I can't. Let me see. There we go. I want to be crystal clear. I'll die on the hill of free speech of America, in America. The government cannot remove it. The WF cannot remove it. Free speech is an inalienable human right with or without both the government or the WEF. And so that's one case already where she's a proponent for free speech. However, look what's happening with all the people getting banned, right? Here's another one. Humans should be allowed to ask questions without fear of reprisal from governments or tech platforms, but I repeat myself. Yeah, so she's right there telling you that tech platforms, in this case Twitter, should not be banning you for asking questions. Yet that's what's happened here. You know, we ask questions and she's starting to have people abusing their power, getting them banned, and claiming falsehoods that aren't there. The other issue regarding this, and it's not with me because, look, I'm not at a point on YouTube to get monetized. I have a very nice but stable following, but it's not like any of these other YouTubers who have been doing this for a while. They've built their fan bases and their viewer counts. They get money paid to them. This is like another job for them. Sometimes they have two jobs, day jobs and this job, but they get paid for this. Now, part of that is your reach doesn't just end on YouTube. Like when you're like a Twitch streamer or whatever, if you're on like YouTube, you're also on Twitch, you're also on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. So your reach and who you have your videos apply to counts as getting money coming your way to pay your bills. Like, it's a job. This is what you do. It doesn't matter if they consider you a real journalist or not. You're not there to be a journalist. You're there to share opinions. But it's your opinions. It's your show. You've put the work in. You know, these people are all very good at what they do. So what's been happening since they've been banned off Twitter, they're losing money. So now it becomes like a financial issue for them because you're not just silencing me because I'm asking questions. You're hurting my income. And so, again, when I mentioned earlier about WorldStar and them taking down the video and them possibly coming after Eliza for, for damages, because at this point, if she's claiming that they trafficked her, that's defamation. Like, that's a case against her. That's very serious stuff. And Andrew, who I watched a little bit through the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, is very good at his job. He knows what he's talking about. He's a lawyer. And again, just because these lawyers, there's a lot of them out there that's called LawTube. Just because they're doing YouTube work does not mean they don't know their shit or they don't have degrees. Like, I hate that I see that the mainstream media tries to discredit them because they do their work through YouTube. I think that's rubbish. If you had the knowledge to do the job, then that means you're legit, period. And so here's Andrew. I might have to rewind a bit because this is the one I started clicking off before too soon. But Andrew starts breaking down what could happen to Eliza via the WorldStar stuff. And I think he's talking with Ann from the Star Wars Girl with this as well.
Have you seen these original tweets where she was threatening the lawsuits?
Yeah, that's the one that got the whatchamacallit on it, fact checked.
This one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so them saying, a non-consensual photo of me was posted, and obviously we've gone into that. I went into that on Anna's stream, that this photo was public. This photo was absolutely not non-consensual. And she's saying, I'm preparing to escalate to the full extent of the law. And then she continued that Twitter did an outstanding job and they will be excluded from legal action, right? I'd encourage my enemies to study the law. I have been for many years. It might stop you from making rookie mistakes in the future. I love when people who are not lawyers decide to try to play it on TV. That, you know, they Google searched.
Yeah. So here's the thing now, because one of the things that I've heard is a lot of the YouTubers would love for Eliza to try to sue them, because that would mean they have to go to court, and that means that the investigators that the YouTubers would have would end up researching and investigating her background. So honestly, I think Eliza was just blowing smoke up people's ass to try to scare them, which isn't going to scare anybody, because if you've got skeletons in your closet, they're going to find that shit out. You ain't going to be able to hide that. I don't care how much you try to scrub the internet and everything else. People screenshot and archive shit. Those because since the last couple of days, Eliza's made her Twitter account private, so I can't see anything in it anymore because I was never following her. So those screenshots I took were from like a few days before she went like black on her Twitter account. So, but that's what people do. Like I've learned through watching other people. They're like, look, you see sketchy shit, screenshot that shit and save it, because it may not be there the next day. But you got to have proof, receipts. You got to have these receipts to show what's going on there. So yeah, like I said, the YouTubers would love for her to try to sue them, because that just means that she's going to bury herself, because the lawyers and the investigators they get will definitely find out everything about her. And if she thought she had it bad now, they will fucking drag her through the fucking mud. So she has to be careful what she's doing here. Now I'm getting back to who I talked about earlier, Ella Irwin, who is in charge of the Twitter trust and safety of Twitter. She was appointed by Elon Musk after he let a lot of people go, actually let her go, but brought her back to run this part of the Twitter where she's supposed to look out for people. The whole idea was, this is why Eliza has a big deal on Twitter, is that the whole idea was to try to minimize and stop child trafficking that's being done through Twitter, like connections and everything else. A lot of people don't think it's even working right now, but the worst part is the way that Irwin is handling a lot of this is out of line, and it's abuse of power, because it's a lot of what she's doing isn't in regards to child trafficking at all. You're basically, even though you're there to protect Twitterers from harassment and trolls and all this other stuff, the problem is when someone's just asking a question, just trying to get clarity, and then that's not trolling, that's not harassment. And that's one of the big deals here. So when Jeremy from the Quartering was put back on Twitter, allowed to come back on, like I said, they deleted his tweet. He didn't do it. But he also had a lot to say about, because he's not holding back. Like Jeremy's like, okay, you let me back on Twitter, but it's not going to stop me from talking about this. It's not going to stop me from pointing out the bullshit that's happening. So I may stop this video a couple times just to talk about what Jeremy talks about, but here's him discussing his return.
Jeremy here from the Quartering, and I'm back. That's right. You're definitely going to want to check out my pinned tweet on my main Twitter account. Open a new window, though. Don't let YouTube see you leaving this video. You're going to want to check your Twitter at some point in this video, because I've got some spicy receipts for all of you, including a panic thread on Sunday from the VP of Twitter's Trust and Safety that all but confirms to me that Eliza Bleu is working directly with Twitter Trust and Safety Vice President Ella Irwin. Both are compromised. An important point here, I don't know if you knew this or not, Eliza Bleu does not work for Twitter. However, it appears that she is single-handedly dictating new trust and safety policy to silence and ban critics. Now, what the crazy thing about this whole story is, this video was and still is a nothing burger. So you had some phase out there where you threw your beehole out there. Like, who cares? That was a million years ago. I don't think anyone would have cared.
That's kind of what I was getting at, is that no one's going to give a shit that, you know, she did these videos. Like, people go through phases, and it doesn't matter when it happens, but the fact that she's like trying to hide it and like not acknowledge it is what's leading to a lot of the problems that we've got going on now.
More curious to me is your reaction to it, the deplatforming, the banning. This, I want to say it's also important to point out, not just like my account being locked, but also, you know, Brittany Venti, Yellow Flash, Camelot. There have also been accounts that have been banned. There have also been accounts that have been locked out, and it just says you violated a rule. It doesn't even say what rule they violated.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about this, right? My wife had a Twitter account that she didn't use that often, but we use it to share like our podcasts and our own videos that we do. And one day she woke up and saw that they had banned her off Twitter. Now, my wife hardly gets on there. The only tweets that she had recently before the ban was sharing photos from her cousin's wedding. So she's tried to contact Twitter. Even now, she's still banned. Trying to contact Twitter about what happened and why. And to me, the only thing I think of was someone hacked her account, put something in there that they shouldn't have done. But there's no proof either way that someone had, because she got banned before she even knew it. So she hadn't even checked on Twitter to see if someone had taken her account. But Twitter never gives you reasons why they ban you. They just say that you're banned for violating a rule, but they don't tell you why. And so I'm like sitting there going to myself like, well, what the fuck, dude? Like, you want trust from your people, your clients, your customers on that platform. And you can't give the courtesy of giving a reason why you're banning or deleting a tweet or whatever. This guy here, Jeremy, they didn't bother saying what it was that got him banned. Like, that's stupid. I don't understand that at all. Let's get back to the video.
I'm going to leave my locals in the description, in the pinned comment. If you haven't followed me on locals yet, please do. I no longer trust Twitter. I've got a video about that today too. I'll be giving the kibosh. I want to give Elon some time to look at this thread, because I think it proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that I posted anyway. So you're going to want to check that out. And, Ella Irwin says, I can't tell you to like and retweet it. So definitely don't like and retweet it. But this.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Supposedly, if you share something and your followers retweet it or share it, that's considered like harassment or getting the horde to jump on somebody. That's not true. That's a false claim by Irwin. She needs to be corrected on that.
This came out on Saturday. Coincidentally, okay, this is why I say this is just irrefutable to me. It's just irrefutable to me. Within just a few moments, both Eliza Bleu issued new wild claims. This is what you would call vague posting. And then within minutes, Eliza makes this new claim about how she was victimized in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't care about that. That's for the police, okay? But what I care about is the fact that Ella Irwin released a new Twitter thread with brand new rules that seem to be specifically designed to protect Eliza Bleu, a non-Twitter employee first and foremost. And the timing of these two tweets proved to me that the two were in some level of constant communication. I would expect Elon Musk to be looking at Ella Irwin's DMs with Eliza Bleu, because this was just too coincidental. She tweets out, I have been exploited in multiple ways. I'd like to thank WorldStar for removing a video depicting me on Wednesday of this week. Again, WorldStar, the website, perhaps removed the video, but you issued a privacy complaint on YouTube to get the video removed. And I also want to point out, here is the COO of WorldStar, okay? In an email in response to this, and I have the original email, okay? It's not just a screenshot floating around the internet. She was paid for this video and we own the full rights. Anything can be addressed further via legal. She did not own that video. She was paid for it. And in my Twitter thread, I show you, maybe I'll play a little clip of it now, that she begged WorldStar to be in these videos. She wrote them. She pitched the idea. That doesn't really sound like somebody who's being taken advantage of. And then moments later, Ellie Irwin. Now, this is why it's more concerning to me. Ella Irwin is the vice president of Twitter's Trust and Safety. New Yoel Roth, same as the old Yoel Roth, okay? Puts out this tweet on a Sunday afternoon, clearly in response to Eliza Bleu. Now, again, we have a single person who does not work at Twitter clearly dictating new rules that everyone on Twitter has to abide by. Think about that level of corruption. Think about that. Sure, it's personal for me, but who the heck is this woman? And why does she get to connect directly with Ella Irwin and fabricate new rules? This is like, my Twitter Blue is just done. I'm done, and I'm going to have a different Twitter Files thread on that about how clearly these two are working together. And, you know, I just can't financially support that. And I also don't, I no
They're colluding, Jeremy. They're colluding.
longer believe that Elon doesn't know about this. He was tweeting all weekend. His entire mentions thread were full of people pointing this out. And then Ella responded on a Sunday. So clearly it went downhill. So she writes, this is in direct reference to us. In the past 2 weeks, we've suspended multiple accounts or restricted content, causing confusion for users. Unfortunately, we can't answer questions or share details about specific users and account actions. But here are some things that can lead to these type of actions. First, we will suspend accounts for threats. Fine. Okay. Nobody cares about that. All right. This includes, for example, declaring war on an individual or a group of people based on their race or religion, or asking your followers to join you in this fight. Now, I don't know. That's really mealy worded. Does it mean that I can't tell people to go to my pinned tweet on my Twitter account and look at all the beautiful, glorious receipts, do it in a new window, and then like and retweet all of those tweets to get the word out? Does it only mean I can't do that if it's because of race or religion? Which, like, that might be okay, I think. But anyway, I digress. The issues are complex and often resolved in court. We don't determine who in a legal/criminal case is ultimately right or wrong, but we will continue to ensure to protect users, comply with local laws, and remove content when required. Second, here's where we're talking about Eliza Bleu. We restrict accounts/content when we receive a properly filed report that content was obtained legally or violates someone's rights. These are often legal notices or court orders. Improperly filed reports are rejected. So what?
So yeah, clearly there's a lot of skeptical issues going on where it looks like Eliza and Ella Irwin are working in tandem to try to silence people for simply asking questions. For anyone who's followed me at all, I don't talk about a whole lot, but prior to Elon Musk taking over Twitter, I had massive problems with Twitter because I felt there was like too much of a bias on one side versus the other. And now it looks like not much has changed. And now I don't know if Elon is going to address this. You know, there was some talk where Elon said there's some problems we have to work on. So hopefully he was unaware of what was going on. He's going to set the record straight and fix this. And maybe because he unfollowed Eliza, that might be a red flag for him to check out and say, look, we can't have this. Like, you can't be just banning people because they're asking questions. Because he was a big proponent of free speech. That's one of the reasons why he bought Twitter. He wanted it to be free speech. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, within the last week or so, some other things have come up that are even more alarming in terms of Eliza Bleu. there was a gentleman, I can't remember the name of the show, but his name is Clint Russell. He has his own YouTube channel and podcast. And he had a gentleman named Thaddeus Russell on there, who I don't know if they're related or not, but he's on there, and also Eliza, and they're having this discussion. And this is before I think this is before the whole shakedown. All this shit goes on, like what's going on with the quartering and Brittany Venti and all this. So they're doing an interview with Eliza, and the topic of child consent when it comes to sex came up. And it's Eliza at times, she's like me almost, like with my ADHD, like I get confused in my head sometimes, and I only say what I'm really thinking, like, or I try to say something, it doesn't come out the way I want. I get tongue twisted, everything else. Eliza at times, like, it seems like her brain's working faster than her mouth, so sometimes she like will jump from one thing to the other trying to explain herself. So I understand the pain there with that personally, on a personal note. But this conversation they had, Eliza was like basically trying to make the claim that a child can consent to sex if the people around them feel the child has the recognition, or in Eliza's case, they had a job, or so like taking like a 13-year-old who has like a little lawn care job or whatever. Eliza was trying to make the point that like a child can consent to sex, and we all know that's bullshit. Now, Thaddeus also shares the same viewpoint, and he's been known to defend people or children or adults having sex with children. So here's a tweet that he had. This is actually before the show, I think, and I'm gonna have to blow this up for myself, but he says, a person asked him honest question. A 13-year-old girl needs help with her math homework. Her 40-year-old teacher, who she finds herself attracted to, agrees to tutor her in exchange for consensual sex. In your view, is this ethical? Thaddeus goes, well, first he goes, in case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of willfully ignorant assholes on Twitter, but then he goes, it depends, of course, but I've known many people, women and men, who had sex with adults when they were 13 and never regretted it. Should the adults in those situations be locked up? And the guy asks again, goes, what does it depend on? He goes, the feelings of the child. That's not how this works, in my opinion. You don't get to decide if a child has the right to consent to sex. We call that rape. It's pedophilia. And so this is like a whole other thing now, where this is very scary territory, because this is a woman who's supposed to be representing child trafficking, yet is endorsing kids being raped by adults. Because even if the kid says yes, it's still like, I remember a long time ago, a friend of mine was dating a 16-year-old girl, and the age limit for consent was 17. They liked each other a lot. Obviously, they were dating. He was only about 18. But by the law, she wasn't able to consent to sex. So he got in trouble. Now, I think eventually kind of the parents worked it out, and it wasn't like a big deal after that. But they were concerned because by law, she was still underage. So whether or not a 13-year-old says, yeah, I want to have sex with this 40-year-old, that's rape, son. That's underage sex. You don't have the right to do that, even if she says she wants it, or he. So that stuff's scary here, and I think I have a clip here with Chrissy Mayer talk a little bit about that as well. And I can't remember. Let me see who she's with on this one. I don't remember.
Clip.
Oh, Josie, I don't know her. I don't think.
Oh, this is from the Liberty Lockdown podcast that we mentioned before. Let's pull this up. This is from Bluey Anon. This is an account that has been following the Eliza stuff pretty closely. Okay. Oh, she said something. She said in her perfect utopia, a neighbor would get to decide if a 13-year-old can consent to sex with an adult. No. Wait, what? How long is this clip? 55 seconds?
We acknowledge there are people who are 13, 14, 15 that have sex with an adult and then feel as if they were taken advantage of too.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Okay, so let's focus on the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pretend like we all have our like utopia. So if I could answer this in utopia, right? In my like perfect ANCAP utopia, each community and each so it'd be each caregiver, parent, and community, including teachers, potential faith leaders, and neighbors, will decide if the child is ready to consent and look at the child's behavior. Do they have a job? How is their education going? Are they cognitively available to have sex with this individual? And then also look at the history of the individual as well. So does this individual have a history of abuse? And then you go from there.
Certainly.
Wait, wait, whoa, wait.
Yeah,
what?
imagine. I know Thaddeus is big on the child can consent thing too, and I believe Clint had. I knew Thaddeus was on. I didn't know Eliza was, but Clint had Thaddeus on to push back against that. So I just want to make that really clear, like that.
So Thaddeus is pro child consent or anti?
Pro child consent. And it sounds like Eliza is pro child consent in her utopia. And I know
it sounds like what
that's
she's
what
saying
that sounded
is
like, right?
You're a child, which means you're under 18, which means it's up to your community can decide whether or not you can have sex. That sounds
like a cult. That sounds like a cult.
I don't.
That's what they do in cults.
I really don't like that. Like, again, of course,
that makes my skin crawl. Ugh.
You can't. I mean, yeah. Did I? I mean, no, actually, no.
I remember when Clint was bringing Thaddeus on, because Thaddeus had made some sort of overreaching comment about children can consent, 13-year-olds can consent. I don't remember what he said, but Clint's like, all right, I'm going to have him on my show. I'm going to push back. And a lot of people were like, you shouldn't platform him. And Liberty Lockdown was like, no, I'm going to platform him because I'm going to push back against this. This is what you do. You put your predators in plain sight and you drag them. Oh,
I don't like this. She's basically saying, like, let's say you have a 16-year-old who has you have to have a job, and then that means you can have sex with like some old creeper. What like if a guy has a
because the community said that was
either she's misspoke. I mean, that sounds really bad.
I can't think of a way. I mean, the only way I could think that could even be close to a misspeaking is that each state has an age of consent. It could be like I don't know the ages of consent. It's 16 in some states. It's 18 in other states. I think one state has 14 or 15. So that would be a very poor way of misspeaking. But I don't think she knows that.
You know what? I think Eliza is such a chameleon. Like I've never in any other, and I've been watching a lot of her appearances over the last week. I've never on any other appearance that I've heard her be on say in my ANCAP utopia. She's clearly chameleoning who she is. She's shape shifting because she's on Liberty Lockdown, and they're all. What are they? Anarchists, libertarians,
ANCAPs, libertarians. Yeah, he's
changing her language to fit this podcast, just like she put on her black scent to do Hotep Jesus's show, just like she put on her black scent to do the World Star interview. She is I think she learns the buzzwords of whatever show or community she's about to go on and just puts that on display so that she can get in with
that's
people.
That's a mirroring technique, and it's done narcissists do that.
Because this clip is not good. It's almost like she's saying like, well, a community can decide if they can let their kids have sex. What does that mean? With other kids? Does that mean with adults? Like that doesn't sound good to me. Like I didn't have
it sounds like she didn't
19.
Sounds like she didn't specify for a reason, but I don't know that. I just, oh God, that's disgusting. I can't think of a way that could be
Yeah,
I don't know how we're mishearing that. I'm trying to think about it objectively, and I'm having trouble.
Either she's trying to fit in so badly that she said something that sounds.
Well, Thaddeus is nodding the entire time. He's nodding, so I don't know if he's nodding in agreement or nodding for some other reason. So it sounds like she's on kin with him. Ugh.
Yeah, so that's not a good look for Eliza there with that very, very strange Yeah. And Thaddeus, I don't know much about him, but as a fellow libertarian, I'm kind of ashamed that a guy would actually, I think that's okay for an adult to sleep with a kid. That's just, no, full stop. So anyway, aside from these controversial comments by Eliza, she's got another issue that's come up that may, like, again, if Eliza decides to sue any of the YouTubers or whatever for like what she feels might be inappropriateness or whatever, she's again opening herself up to investigation. And one of the things that now, again, we're going back to Andrew of Legal Mindset. He's talking a little bit about what Eliza created, what's called supposedly a humanity house, designed for helping kids to trafficked or whatever. I know there's been rumors and discussions about when Eliza does shows or podcasts and there's super chats that you see on YouTube. Like, apparently sometimes she'll do super chats, like any money that's generated through super chats will go to the Humanity House. And then there's other times he says, well, no, these particular super chats of money will go to me. So the other thing here is we haven't really seen proof of this house that she has. And so Andrew kind of starts talking about that and how that came about and what she could possibly face if it doesn't exist. So he's going to break that down for us here.
Censored by Eliza Bleu over the past weeks. We've had The Quartering, we've had Yellow Flash, Brittany Venti, many others, Camelot, censored over the past 2 weeks because they've spoken out and simply stated facts about Eliza Bleu's past. In fact, if she had just allowed a very old, extremely old music video to just stay on the internet, not comment about it, ignore it, or just rather had said, hey, yeah, I did that when I was younger, we would not be here. But because people were banned simply for posting still photos of an old music video, we are now going down the rabbit hole of exposing Eliza Bleu. Now, if you saw my previous videos on this topic, you've seen that Eliza threatened to sue others. She threatened lawsuits against others and claimed to be a master of the law. But now it seems Eliza may be subject to a serious lawsuit herself. She may face criminal charges because of her behavior regarding her charity. Now, what's going on? What has been exposed? Well, there's been a lot of things that we've come to know over the past day or two, particularly since our good friend at The Quartering is back on Twitter. Now, a lot of us have seen this video, the Liberty Lockdown video, where Eliza comes out and talks about her utopia where children can consent to naughty activities with adults. This video has gotten many people banned on Twitter, but it's not this actual video that's going to get her in trouble. Many people are focusing on this video, and certainly it provides many salacious details about her personal beliefs, and also that she can argue for the protection of trafficking victims on one hand, while essentially allowing for the exploitation of underage individuals on the other. But beyond that, her issues regarding money, particularly her charity, have put her at risk here. And the charity, the Quartering, has been going through since he's been back, since he had to delete that tweet that he sent out regarding Eliza Bleu. He has been putting out the Eliza Bleu file. So shout out to my good friend Jeremy at The Quartering. But the thing that he exposed, the thing that he brought up that is the most problematic is specifically her use and her misrepresentations regarding the Humanity House. And it is this specific issue that could end up with Eliza Bleu behind bars. It has the potential to see her locked up. Now, what happened? Let's go over the facts. Well, as The Quartering reports, on March 29th of 2020, Eliza Bleu proudly announced to the internet that she opened up a home for trafficking victims called the Humanity House. She said, "It is my pleasure to announce that the Humanity House is now a home. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp by the golden door, posting a picture of a sunrise." Isn't that sweet? Well, the only issue is, it turns out It wasn't real. It was all vaporware. And she was going out and fundraising for this. She was collecting money. This is key. This is a key element of the potential crime here. She was saying, if any extremely wealthy people want to fall off the grid until the Rona is passed, I'll rent you the extra house on the farm, 550 acres and no neighbors. Just to sweeten the deal, all proceeds go to turning that house into a safe house for survivors of human trafficking. And then grifting to the Yang Gang, saying, I want to have a safe house for trans survivors of human trafficking. I want to look good for my age, no matter what age I am. Not sure how that's relevant, by the way. And I want to get married and adopt a child. Also not necessarily relevant, but saying, now that it's your turn, soliciting folks, soliciting the Yang Gang, the Andrew Yang Gang, remember them, to give donations to this supposed charity. And in his replies, he's saying, done, I'd use the money to finish a safe house on my farm for survivors of human trafficking. And she stated that she opened a safe house, no questions asked, 8 beds, still in the life was not a problem. I work with all folks. That's my solution. Private charity. There's the statement. She says it is a charity. She then claims that the community house is located on 550 acres, which is a big plot of land. It turns out that her father's farm, if you look into the size of the farm, it's about 400-ish acres. So maybe a little bit off on the acreage, or maybe somebody else volunteered to donate another piece of rural property, whatever it is. It's out there, but at the same time, remember, she's crowdfunding for a vacation. She's crowdfunding, $1,600 to go on vacation for around a time contemporaneous with this. But when you go to look it up, when you go to search, you do not find the Humanity House. So here's the key issue. If it can be proven that Eliza actually collected funds on this, it's looking like she could be in trouble. And let's look at some of the agencies that look into this. We've got the FBI, which can be reported here. There's, in fact, many ways to report this form of fraud. So if anybody was to have been subject to Eliza Bleu's frauds, they could go report this to the FBI. They could also turn over and report this to the FTC under a federal complaint. That's also possible as well. And when you look into the Humanity House, you can easily search this and find there is only one Humanity House in the entire United States, only one valid 501c3. It is in Iola, Kansas, but it has nothing to do with Eliza Bleu. It is not a charity for trafficking victims. In fact, the Humanity House but generally it seems like a great charity that provides services, many different types of services to the needy. They provide laundry services, food, classes, utility help, lending, libraries, kitchens. And when you look through their founders, and you see Tracy Kegel, who looks like a very interesting character here, running their charity for Humanity House, and the board members, Kristen Wright, Emerald Catron, Rian, Paige Schaeff Olson, Georgia Masterson, none of these people, none of these officers are Eliza Bleu, or Eliza Knows, or Eliza Seep, whatever she's going by the week. So if she was putting herself out there as a valid organization, but yet having no ties to that organization, taking money, and people were sending or receiving whatever was going on right there, whether she was receiving those funds or funds are being sent to her with that intent, whether they went one place or another, she could be guilty of that. Now, in some states, it's fraud by deception. In fact, we actually have seen that, seen state charges being brought by fraud by deception. And certainly we would need to see proof of those funds being sent. But if they were shown, if people came forward and said, yep, I sent money to Eliza and I sent it with the intention of that going to a charity, we could very well see Eliza feeling very blue behind bars. That being said, guys, take care. Stay tuned for this. I'm going to stay on top of this and keep reporting this issue and exposing all those clout-chasing goblins. Peace.
There you have it. It should be noted that I talked about earlier, there's another podcast by the name of Tim Pool, who maybe I brought it up, I don't remember, but he had an interview with Eliza at one point, and he has another guy that he works with. I don't know if he's just strictly in a an interviewer or investigator, but goes by the name of Shane Cashman or Cushman, who was supposed to go out with Eliza. In fact, he did go out to Eliza's farm for a couple of days to spend time with her to investigate this matter, because people were kind of coming down to Tim Pool about, why aren't you talking about this? Because she was on your show prior, and now we're finding out all this other stuff. So why aren't you pushing back and trying to get answers? And for a while, Tim Pool was kind of like dodging it. He just didn't want to talk about it. He was kind of deflecting a little bit on Jeremy because they were going to talk about it, but Jeremy couldn't make it out there. But Tim obviously sent Shane to go handle this. But some of the discussion now is whether or not, because Eliza came out and tweeted about how once Shane gets back, that he needs like a few days to get the story right. And like, she's already kind of getting ahead of it. Which is kind of weird, because like she was kind of gushing at Shane when she was talking to him on his show or whatever, and it was just kind of a real awkward thing. She tends to be really flirtatious with a lot of these guys that she talks with, and which is not a problem. You can flirt with whoever you want, but when you're kind of dealing with serious nature and you've been trafficked, like, it's not a good look to me. I don't think that's how someone who's been trafficked would actually act. There tends to be, from what I've read and heard from victims, is that kids or girls that have been trafficked are very reclusive. They don't trust people, especially men, a lot. So the way that Eliza acts on a lot of these doesn't really come off as a victim of trafficking. But again, I don't know for sure. But Shane apparently went out there. So we have yet to hear his story and what happened while I was out there. So when it comes to this Humanity House, if he saw it out on the farm, then good. She's got proof that she's doing something like that, right? But if there's nothing there, or it's not mentioned, that could be a problem, at least according to Andrew. In the end, the bottom line is there's no issue with her being an activist for child trafficking. Like it's good that she's doing that. So no one really has a problem with that. It's never been a problem. But unfortunately, her activity on social media, trying to silence people for asking questions or trying to get clarity about stuff that's gone on that she's claimed happened that doesn't match up with her timeline and her life. I mean, fuck, dude, I'm 52 and I forget shit all the time. If I claimed that something happened and I had the wrong year, at least acknowledge it. Like, just say, look, I just forgot, the timeline. Like, but it happened. And I don't know. There's no one there really advising her. Like, I don't know if she's an advocate. It'd probably be smart if she had her own PR person to handle stuff like this so that she doesn't put herself in a hole. Because she, like they've said on those clips, if she just says, I was a long time ago, early in my life, I did those videos, but they're not a representative of who I am today. They're not representative of when I got trafficked. And then if they start saying something about the timelines don't match the age, you can just say, you know what, I just got them screwed up. It's that simple, man. Like, she could have avoided all this mess by not trying to bury it, like not trying to hide, not trying to ban people. Like, it's a nightmare for her, and it's going to get worse. Because now, Twitter's doing a lot of like backpedaling, trying to cover this shit up. And this Irwin woman doesn't sound like she's very trustworthy, even though she's supposed to be looking out for everybody. So anyway, any of the clips that you saw were taken from pieces of the people that I've had on here, as far as like Quartering, Legal Mindset, Lauren Chen, Chrissy Mayer. If you want to see their full clips, go to their channels. I'm going to have all their information in the description down here. And yeah, that's really all I got to say right now. I don't know if I'm going to really follow it up, because I like to do big chunks of discussions with this. If you all have any comments, feel free to let me know. Give me some any information you may have that I didn't speak about. or clarity, or if you think that maybe they're just being unfair to her, like, let me know. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Much appreciated. Hope you all have a great weekend, man. Take care of yourselves and stay metal.